Suppose the y-axis represents temperature. So if the melt is a melting temperature, it is in a equilibrium state. So it will not transform anymore. Okay. As we go on reducing the temperature, because of the stability of the phase from the Gibbs energy, we find that as the temperature slowly comes down, then stability of the phases change. So it will have some motivation for undergoing a change. The motivation is in terms of the lowering of Gibbs free energy. So as we reduce the temperature, the tendency of the material to undergo a change will slightly increase. Further reduce it, it will further increase. So it is observed that it increases like this. But after a certain temperature is reached, it is again observed that if you lower the temperature further below it, the atoms do not find sufficient energy to migrate from one place to another, or even they don't find energy to rearrange themselves at the same place. So again, the energy available for the transformations come down. If energy is not available for transformation, then transformation will slow down. So you will find that the curve becomes like this. Okay, if we connect the dots, we will see that starts from 0, increases to a value, and then again slows down and becomes 0. So what is this? This is the rate of transformation. Okay, this rate of transformation is for change in temperature. We are changing the temperature and we are seeing this rate of transformation changing. We find that an average temperature or optimal temperature, the rate of transformation is high, but when it is near to the melting temperature, it does not have any tendency to become solidified or phase change, and at very low temperature also there is no energy available to change. So these two will be 0 and there will be a maximum in between these two temperatures. Okay. Now we consider a isothermal case. Means we consider any temperature here. We saw that here it is 0. Let us consider any one line. Suppose this line we are considering. So at this particular temperature, what will be the speed of transformation or the rate of transformation? We find that initially, for a sufficient amount of time, the transformation has not yet started. Nucleation is starting, small range migration is taking place, but phase change is not occurring. So after that, it will start, and when little bit time advances, the rate will pick up. Now more nuclei will be formed. Also, the energy may be available because when they are forming into a solid, they form as a result of giving away their energy. Okay, so if they are giving away their energy, then energy is available for rest of the atoms to migrate from one place to another. So if they have energy, they can move to another place. So if this is a mix, there is a nuclei here, the nearby atoms, they started solidifying. So whatever energy is there, they are giving to the atoms which are nearby it. So that way, these atoms, they have energy to migrate wherever they can go and form a solid structure or phase transformation. So that is why the rate of transformation will gradually see an increase like this. But after a while, when sufficient amount of migration has taken place, not enough number of atoms are there which can give away this energy, gradually this will become flat and it will become like this. This is called a sigmoid curve. This sigmoid curve, this is log of time in logarithmic scale, and this one the rate of transformation, or you can say this is a cumulative rate of transformation. You can say this is fraction transformed. The lower value is 0, upper value is 1. Okay, so this point already we have reached 1, means all the transformation has taken place. Further, no transformation will take place. Now we will use these two graphs to construct something which we call TTD diagram. This is our temperature. This is our time. This is log T. This is temperature. We had drawn two diagrams. One diagram was like this. Another was here. In this, it was a rate of transformation, and the left side was temperature. Here the melting temperature Tm, and this was a freezing temperature, lower point. And we saw that here the rate goes like this, and in this diagram this is log T, and this one 0 to 1 fraction transformed, and it started like this, went like this, and became flat, sigmoid. Now consider any temperature. We start from the melting temperature. Here, if we draw a straight line, we find that for transformation to take place, transformation to start, it will take a very long time, because the melting temperature does not offer any free energy reduction for the phase transformation to take place. So it may be infinitely large. You come down little bit, take a just smaller temperature. So here I am drawing that with red. Now on this line, because you can see here that there is a small gap, the rate of transformation is not 0 now, it is a non-zero value. So as a result, you will find that even though the transformation starting is delayed, but it is transforming. So it will start here and it will end also after some time, because at this temperature the amount of transformation is less. So that is why they will be spaced like this. Okay, then you take little bit smaller temperature. Again, because the gap has slightly widened, it was 0, little bit more, so it is increasing then decreasing. So as we go on like this, we find that here the rate of transformation is slightly higher, so it will start little early and also end with a little bit delay. Okay, so this will continue, and if we draw multiple lines like this, we find that here wherever this bulge is highest, this shows us that the rate of transformation is highest. So this is our point where the rate of transformation will be fastest. This is the earliest time in this entire diagram where transformation is starting, and it will also end here, because the tendency is there to transform. It can continue for a long time, but then if you drop it, it came like this, it will also reduce in a similar manner. Okay, now if we connect all these points, this is start point, end point, start point, end point, start point, end point, start and start end. So if we connect these, we get something like this. And this you already know. I had asked you one question, what is the paralytic nose? So this is the transformation curve. Okay. At this particular temperature, the transformation takes place very fast, very early, and it goes on for a very long period of time. It's the longest. Okay. Now this is all for isothermal transformation. You must remember that this diagram and this particular one is for isothermal transformation. So we name it as isothermal transformation diagram. But in practice, none of our transformation is isothermal. Whenever we start cooling something, we start from melting point, pour it inside a mold, and then we allow it to cool it automatically, or we put it inside sand, water, oil, furnace, or anywhere we want to control the rate, but we want to cool it because we want a solid. So during that process, the rate of change in temperature is of importance. So one more thing we had seen or discussed, that from here if we start the melting point, if a very slow cooling is there, it will proceed like this. If you never allow it to cool, you remain the temperature constant, you keep the temperature constant, it goes on horizontally. If you cool it very fast, the slope is highest and it drops like this. So in case we are going for a cooling like this is our cooling curve. During this cooling, it comes to touch this nose at this point, means the solidification will start here, this point. Okay, and it will end at this point. The transformation will start here, transformation will end here. If we change the cooling rate, we make it faster, it can go like this. So transformation will start here and it will end here. It goes on like that. If we quench it, all of a sudden we put it in oil or we put it in water, then we tend to avoid this nose. So this is our quenching. This may be normalizing, or if there is a slower one, you can call it annealing. Okay, annealing, normalizing, then this one quenching. You can go faster also. So what is the effect of this type of cooling? Let us go through the annealing process. If you are annealing it, it starts from here. Two things need to be remembered. One is nucleation, and second is growth rate. These two represent the same thing. At any temperature, this is for a single temperature, isothermal transformation. At any temperature, the transformation starts, remains minimum, increases the rate, and then slows down and becomes zero. Here, as the temperature is lowered, the tendency to transform increases, but after a certain point, the threshold, it again starts to fall. That means if we are providing an undercooling inside any melt, initially there are some nuclei. These nucleus, they are the starting point of solidification. So if these are the nuclei, you will find the grains have grown like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. In case you reduce the temperature, then the undercooling will be little bit higher. Okay. The undercooling will be higher, and what you get is the number of nuclei present in it will be higher. So we get a little bit refined structure like this. Also, when the temperature is high, number of nuclei were less, but they were having sufficient energy to migrate from one point to another. So that is why large grain formation was possible. But in the case of lower temperature, number of nucleus is more, but the energy available for the transformation, for the migration is less. And if you further lower the temperature, like in this case, quenching, you find many dots will be there and very fine microstructure will be produced. If the size of the microstructure is so fine that the crystalline phases become very small, it becomes like this. You go on cooling it more, increase the cooling rate more. So this line, once it approaches like this, you will find that the crystallite size are very, very small. And in that case, very small crystallite is known as a glassy phase. We call it a glass. Even though it is metal, but we call it a glassy phase. The reason is the amount of crystals, the amount of crystal size is very small. Number of crystals are more. So such structures are intentionally used sometimes to increase the strength of the material, but they are very brittle. Sometimes even with the slightest tap, many of these structures, they tend to break. Okay. We'll see what we can do with this diagram. This already we had discussed in one more class, that how to form pearlite, bainite, martensite, etc. As we know, melt for a hypoeutectic alloy, melt generally forms austenite, FCC gamma. If you further cool it, this decomposes into alpha plus Fe3C. Depending on how they are arranged, alpha plus Fe3C, what proportion is the arrangement or what is the spacing between them, we find different phases such as pearlite, and bainite. Bainite is further divided into upper bainite and lower bainite. Okay. So when these structures are forming, melt, gamma, alpha, Fe3C, further reduction in this, Fe3C will become, this Fe3C is further becoming alpha plus graphite. Okay. So in cast iron, we had studied about this thing. Now, in the TTD diagram, how we can use this? Let us see that. One thing is that the eutectic looks like this. We will consider this part hypoeutectic, because if we go towards the hypereutectic, we will find more of an Fe3C, and more Fe3C means more graphite, and more graphite means more of a cast iron. Instead of getting steel properties, we may get cast iron properties. So we must avoid that scenario. So this is hypoeutectic region. Further, if you see uh, here, one more hypoeutectoid region is also there. This is gamma loop, okay, and below this line is called eutectoid line, okay. So if we are considering only this portion, this is called hypoeutectoid. Depending on which portion we are considering, our strategy will change. So in this cooling curve, we start from somewhere and allow it to cool. As soon as it touches this point, this is for a pearlite transformation curve. So here it starts to become pearlitic. It spent some time becoming pearlite, pearlite, pearlite. Here pearlite transformation is finished. So what is there towards this side? We see that above this is liquid. Okay, above that it is liquid. This liquid has a tendency to transform. If you come down, because of the nature of the curve being like this portion generally has less interest to transform. Interest means energy. So this region will see some liquid melt which are not ready to transform, or even if it is a solid, it is not ready to transform. It is fine with it, with whatever it is. Okay. So here pearlite transformation, TS and TF, transformation start, transformation finish. Towards this side, we find that pearlitic transformation is over. Now there is no energy. Why? Because of this, it corresponds to this temperature. So it started, but then finished. What will happen to the rest? It does not have, it is energy devoid of energy. Okay. So if you allow it some time, you keep it at some temperature, then maybe you can extend this and some transformation will take place. It will further go through this loop again, because it is crossing this loop one more time. If that is not, whatever transformation had taken place, that will stay as it is, and the liquid, whatever state it was in, the nearest possible, like if it was here, then the nearest possible phases were on the left and on the right. So whatever are the possible compositions, in that composition they will freeze. There won't be any transformation at all. If we change the cooling speed, then our transformation speed is elsewhere. Earlier it was here, very little, but here it is more. So I think you will agree to this also, that here the transformation was smaller, but here it is pretty big. Okay. So this is our transformation start, transformation finish. In the second case, this is a transformation start, this is a transformation finish. So in the second case, we found that transformation is occurring for a longer time, but it has an optimum. If you increase the cooling rate further, Now you see that transformation is starting here, but it is finishing here. First case, the range was this much. Second case, the range was from here to here. But the third case, the range has reduced. That the reason is coming from here. If the transformation temperature is not optimum, then the energy and time available will be very less and the transformation will take place less. So one more strategy is to pull it down, allow it to transform up to this point, or suppose you brought it up to this point. Now you see that if we continue the same cooling rate, then we will finish the transformation. We don't want it. We want more transformation to take place. So you hold it at that temperature, take it here, and then again allow it to cool. Now, the transformation which was to end between this and this has now been extended over this and this. Okay? So such transformations are used to avoid in the outside region of the nose. Why that is done? The reason is pearlite transforms here, bainite transforms here. In industry, there is a huge demand for bainite. Pearlite anyone can form easily, but bainite formation is little bit tricky. Reason? It has fine acicular structures. Okay, so fine acicular structure means you have more surface binding between the Fe3C and alpha phases. So if more bonding is there, you can tailor the properties more. Okay, you join the meeting once more. Time is about to end.